This is my presentation of slides. Welcome. This is for Richard Davey and maybe Diana if she sees it. Is the future of TESOL online? This is my literature review. This is my presentation of slides. Welcome. This is the first section of my literature review. The importance of technology is obviously very important, so I included a study of mobile dictionaries in the use of learning vocabulary and idioms inside the classroom. The reason that I included this is because a really high percentage of students actually do this now, which means only 1% in the studies did not use them, or never, for example, as they said. This shows that technology is already taking over, but inside the classroom. So this links to the fact that this could happen. Online language teaching could be the future of TESOL because of this reason, that it challenges conventional methods of how things were previously done. Okay, so the ease of learning things on the spot is relevant to online language teaching because you can access that same information quickly and it helps the student. So it's also used as a creative tool to help online language teaching. For the example, one study I used, they recorded mouth positions for pronunciation, which is something that you can't actually do in the classroom. You can do it, but to be able to do that with technology and send it over the, even not in real time is fantastic. So this, as I say, this shows that technology is taken over in the classroom. Right, next point. So the historical factors I need to consider. Online language teaching is kind of undefined because of the past and the historical inaccuracies that Bax reported. He reported those inaccuracies being mainly a wish list from another scholar that come up with these ideas that he doesn't agree with the frameworks, right? So it's hard to kind of know where it's going. At the same time, we're unsure if we've reached full normalization with this technology. It is an old study, but I included some other new studies that's saying that facilitating communicative competence is extremely important in TESOL, so especially regarding the speaking skill.
This is the first section.
So this is the next section of my literature review. So how does online teaching work? Now this is more generalized. So it's a generalized framework of how it's supposed to work, which I believe is called the TPAC model. How it's supposed to work. This is the framework. This is a discussion on how to achieve a form of competence as an online teacher in general. So if we combine this with TESOL, it's like, for example, online language teaching allows for instantaneous feedback. One scholar mentioned that. The discussion on what you must do is all there, and criticism of the TESOL from the TESOL industry, from one or two, is that it's supposed to be an artistic and more creative process teaching online, not in the box set of frameworks. But these frameworks kind of show how it is supposed to work. I've also included one from the point of the learner, or two of them, which was the community of inquiry, and another one which is the 4 pillars of support. These depict how it works for a learner, but the TPAC is how it works for teachers. It's important for me to kind of show these frameworks because they are the basic frameworks available that we can see. But as you can see, there is a slight discrepancy on what some people in the TESOL industry think about these specific frameworks. But this is an idea how it can work.
Of my literature review.
This is the third section of my literature review. Why choose online language teaching? So there are a few reasons here, which I analysed a study from Montiel Chamereau. And the idea that kind of was spoken in that study is that face-to-face is currently still more popular, but the dropout rates are a lot higher in face-to-face. So that's one positive of online language teaching. One also positive thing is they mentioned that people choose it due to time, convenience, and financial reasons. So those kind of reasons can be why people would choose it, which is quite interesting. Also, motivation was a nice point that I discovered. Actually, the motivation of the student can make or break online language teaching because the teacher can only do so much. The dropout rates or incompletion rates are not fantastic with OLT, so that's one of the potential drawbacks. Changes also could be forced due to the situation that we have with COVID-19, but opportunity is another great thing, as I mentioned, to rethink our ideas on what teaching is, and that links to something of teacher and also learner autonomy. So being able to do that is an attractive reason for choosing online language teaching. This next section is online language teaching, or OLT, effective? Right, so regarding the writing skills and the speaking skills, it has been considered more effective. according to two researchers in particular. So there was Cho and there was Taylor Munoz Luna. They believed, and that was also backed up by Koshima, which is a more recent study, 2018, like you asked for. So students are more likely, another thing that was found was students are more likely to like this if they are working with a teacher. So having that kind of mentor really helps the effectiveness of online language teaching. Some of the studies suggest that there isn't really a framework to really tell us if it's effective or not, but some studies do say that, including the use of Skype, which can be a great way to facilitate communication, has good results, according to a couple of scholars here as well, which I mentioned in the review.
The importance of technology is...
This section is about how teachers are adapting to online language teaching. It says there is a lack of literature on how to do it, and that's kind of also confirmed by more recent studies which say technological innovation is not matched with pedagogical training. Also there is another kind of underlining reason that actually some teachers might just reject adjustment due to beliefs in how teaching should be done. One of them included age. And also ideals, how it should be done, facilitated, all that kind of stuff. It's also possible that motivation plays a massive part in this adaptation. So when we're talking about that, autonomy or just a general love of teaching that can really force people over the line. There is a framework for that, which is the skills pyramid created by, I believe, Hampel and Stickler. So this pyramid in particular, two of them address pedagogy there, so that could show how you could adapt. But it says the steps that people normally go through. I actually went through these steps as an online teacher, so I can confirm for me that did work, although I'm not one of those researchers, so it doesn't have relevance for that. But in general, this is the most cited framework, so this is the one that people would go to if they are looking for how it does work. You can compare that. There's some literature I compared also in the literature review.
Very important, so I included a...
Linking into the previous section, the next section is about pedagogical issues. So there are many discussions about what people think about the frameworks. There's a lot of criticism, mainly by Sun. She criticised it that only a few of them, as I mentioned, 2 of the steps in the skills pyramid actually address pedagogy. Another thing like Meskell and Anthony in Teaching English, Teaching Languages Online, the book publication, says that clear goals are very important for the pedagogical issue to work in that sense. Guidance on how to do things is missing from this literature. If we talk about kind of new, like we're talking about new studies, even that is then confirmed by Schleicher, not sure his name, even in recently saying that there's not a way to integrate technology and the pedagogy together at this point, and that's confirmed by Hampel, who actually authored the skills pyramid. So they say that they also make another criticism that teachers are alienated by the top-down approach to integrating with technology, so there's lack of people showing them how to do it. If there is a lack of training, it does say that that's a very common thing, but there's another person, Kessler, that suggests that the adjustment is not actually a linear process. So in that case, it's not going to work. Even if there was a framework, maybe it's not going to work for everyone. And finally, the final section, which is online versus offline. So this was the most criticized in my grading system. So I have kind of changed it a little bit, worked on it, and I would say it's more about, at the beginning, analyzing online education in general. So the reason for doing that is so I can get a bigger picture of where online education in general is. So it does seem that in general terms, people do fail to complete online courses, and that was also emphasized in the previous Montiel-Chamorro study. Face-to-face still has more success, so the future of TESOL being online is not currently necessarily headed that way, but there are other reasons for this. So despite the fact that online is pretty positive, so actually people are really positive about online language teaching. So when the studies that I checked about language in specifically, they were popular. The studies were popular in the relation of doing that online, but for example, they found mathematics, for example, very hard. So there is another issue, however, even though there is a success with online language teaching, there are lots of benefits. Time, convenience, as we mentioned before, location that students may prefer as well for online language learning. It seems that institutions have not widely accepted online education, and because of that, they generally reject it. This is also the same for language institutions, according to Tarantino, who is not the film director. I'm talking about Tarantino, which is Joe Tarantino, who did a study on that as well, relating to language teaching specifically. So whilst there are positive correlations for language teaching, generally as a term, online is not completely accepted. So that could be a problem because of the general concept of online versus offline, could be a problem in trying to assume that the future of TESOL would actually be online.
Of mobile dictionaries in the use of learning vocabulary and idioms inside the classroom. The reason that I included this is because a really high percentage of students actually do this now, which means only 1% in the studies did not use them, or never, for example, as they said. This shows that technology is already taking over inside the classroom. So this links to the fact that this could happen. Online language teaching could be the future of TESOL because of this reason, that it challenges conventional methods of how things were previously done. Okay, so the ease of learning things on the spot is relevant to online language teaching because you can access that same information quickly and it helps the student. So it's also used as a creative tool to help online language teaching. For the example, one study I used, they recorded mouth positions for pronunciation, which is something that you can't actually do in the classroom. You can do it, but to be able to do that with technology and send it over the, even not in real time is fantastic. So this, as I say, this shows that technology is taken over in the classroom. Right, next point. So the historical factors I need to consider. Online language teaching is kind of undefined because of the past and the historical inaccuracies that Bax reported. He reported those inaccuracies being mainly a wish list from another scholar that come up with these ideas that he doesn't agree with the frameworks, right? So it's hard to kind of know where it's going. At the same time, we're unsure if we've reached full normalization with this technology. It is an old study, but I included some other new studies that are saying that facilitating communicative competence is extremely important in TESOL, so especially regarding the speaking skill. For Richard Davey and maybe Diana, if she sees it, is the future of TESOL online? This is my literature review.